Welcome back to r/Neighbors from Hell, where people share stories about their crazy neighbors. And if you're new to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe to join our amazing community. And without any further ado, let's dive right into the stories. And the first one is titled, "Neighbor stole my parking spot during winter after I spent 3 hours shoveling it out." Have you ever been in the unfortunate situation during winter that you needed to shovel out your parking spot only to later find out that your lazy neighbor took it without doing any of the work himself? Well, if you did, maybe you can relate to this. The cast is ST for Spot Thief. My story happened a few years ago during a really massive blizzard. The blizzard dumped a good 2 feet of snow. After the storm was over, I went outside to shovel out my car that was parked in front of my house. It took about 3 hours for me to finish shoveling. In my neighborhood, we always had a code where you shovel out your spot and it is yours. When you leave your spot, you can put a space saver there to keep free from someone to steal it. You can use anything to save your spot, and that time I was using an old wooden kitchen chair. The next morning I left for work, I put out my trusty space saver and left for work. After I came back home from work, I found a car sitting in my spot that I shoveled out before. So I was kind of pissed that someone stole my spot and I needed to find out whose car was parked in my spot. Being a close neighborhood like it was, your neighbors won't steal your spot after you spend 2 hours digging it out. That is what I thought. So I parked my car and went knocking on a few neighbors' doors, and after the third house I knocked on it, it ended up being his and he was new to the neighborhood. I explained that I spent 2 hours shoveling, but he did not care. All he said was, "You did a good job on this spot," and "It's a free country," and closed the door in my face. I was pissed and I was trying to figure out what I can do to his car. I could not really damage his car because it could blow back at me. I called a buddy of mine and told him the issue I was having. He let me park in his driveway for the time being because snowstorm parking spots are taken and I'm not stealing someone else's spot. My buddy, let's call him Frank, not his real name, Frank gave me the idea to bury his car in snow, let him spend 2 hours cleaning his car. So we got to work. Later that night, Frank and I were outside with shovels, and to get to work when I had the idea to make it more of a pain for the ST to dig his car out. Subsequently, I went inside to my basement and grabbed a garden hose and hooked it up to the basement sink because the outside faucet was frozen over. So I sprayed down his car first so his car would be encased in a sheet of ice. Once that was finished, Frank and I started to shovel snow onto and around his car, a good 2 feet of snow on top of his car and 2 huge snow mounds in front and the back of his car. Once that was finished, I sprayed the snow with the hose again, so it was frozen over even more. The whole process took us about an hour and a half. Frank told me not to worry about my car, I can keep it in his driveway as long as I needed to, so Frank and I went into my house and had a couple of beers and left the whole night. The next morning I ended up calling out of work so I can watch everything that goes down when the ST comes out to leave for work. 8:30 AM, the ST comes out, looks at the work I have done and just started to flip out. It was hilarious watching him trying to break through the first layer of ice over the mount. After 20 minutes of the ST trying to dig out his car, he just gave up because he could not make a dent in the ice and snow cocoon. The best part of it all, the ST car was there for 2 weeks straight before the ST was able to dig out his car. I was told by another neighbor that the ST needed AAA to come and replace his battery because of the cold it drained the old battery. I just looked at it as a teachable moment for the ST to never steal someone's parking spot again. I gotta say guys, even though I would probably classify this as either petty or regular revenge, it is definitely one of the smartest revenge stories I have seen so far. That is simply a genius and easy way to get back at a douchebag. If you would have been in OP's situation, what would you have done instead? Let us know in the comments, and while you're at it, please don't forget to like the video if you want to support the channel. Thank you so much. Recently we have gotten an insane amount of likes and I really appreciate your support. Thank you so much. And the next one is titled, HOA does not care about my demands but quickly wants to punish me for my decor. This happened 5 years ago. It is a long one but worth the read, or at least I think so. First, a bit about me. For the story's sake, you can call me Alex. I was a 29-year-old male at the time. I am generally very friendly and accommodating and try to avoid confrontation where possible and always try to do things in a peaceful and patient manner. Now onto the backstory. I lived in a gated community comprised entirely of multiple blocks of small apartments. Every block of apartments looked exactly the same as the other blocks of apartments around it. There were a few floors high and I lived on the first floor. Clarification, I believe in America the first floor is the ground floor. Where I live, the ground floor is the ground floor and the first floor is the one above the ground floor, or as Americans would call it, the second floor. So I lived one floor above the ground floor. The Homeowners Association / estate management were extremely strict about any infringements regarding things we were not allowed to do and would issue fines very quickly if you were in breach of the rules and did not rectify it. For example, you were allowed to have furniture on your patio, but you were not allowed to have any decor on your patio. I imagine it was because they wanted uniformity in the appearance of the blocks of flats. Also, no loud music or noise was allowed after 10 PM. I personally agreed with the no loud noise thing. It was quiet and a peaceful community that frankly was very well managed, which is something I enjoyed about it. I did not agree so much with the no decor thing. As a photographer and artist, personal expression is important to me, but I figured as long as I kept it tasteful and stylish and mostly out of visible sight, they hopefully wouldn't have an issue with it. I am a big fan of vintage motorbikes and had a few tasteful, or at least I thought they were tasteful, metal posters with classic bikes like Triumph, Bonvilles, Indian Scouts, BSAs, Nortons, Ducatis, etc. up on one of the walls of my patio. They were at such an angle that meant they were not easily visible from the rest of the complex, so I didn't think it would be an issue. Somehow it was still spotted by the estate manager, but more on this later. I also had a few pot plants on the ledge of my balcony. Clarification, plants in pots, not MJ. Again, we will get to that later. You need to know about it for the rest of the story. My downstairs neighbor also used to smoke in her back garden. The ground floors had small gardens and my balcony was directly above her garden. Her smoke would rise up and go through my open bedroom window or the large sliding door on my patio, which was usually open in summer and entered my flat. Since I don't smoke, this bothered me. The smell seeped into my furniture and bedding. Even my sleeping pillow smelled of smoke. I politely spoke to her in person about it and she apologized for the inconvenience but never stopped doing it. She was actually a very friendly lady. She was never horrible. I suppose she was nice enough to be friendly but not nice enough to stop doing it. So I decided to take it a step further and I emailed the manager of the gated community to ask if there was something that could be done. The following is the email transaction between myself and the manager, who I will call Nicole. Good day, I stay in unit 117 on the first floor and my downstairs neighbor who lives on the ground floor, although being a very friendly old lady, has a nasty habit of smoking in her patio. My issue is that in summer with the heat I leave my bedroom window and sliding door open to keep my flat cool and the fumes from her cigarettes are constantly rising up and entering my apartment. I'm not a smoker, so this bothers me. My flat smells as if a smoker lives there. Now my question is there any rule or law that says she cannot smoke in her patio due to her smoke entering my flat? She knows her smoke bothers me and has apologized to me for it, but has not done anything about it. If she were to only smoke inside her flat or outside her front door, I'm sure the smoke would not come into my flat nearly as much, since I never have my front door open. Thanks in advance. Regards, Alex. She responded with, "Good morning, Alex. This is a very contentious issue as this is her home and there is no law at the moment stating you cannot smoke in your home. Regards, Nicole." I wasn't happy with that response, but I figured there was nothing more I could do about it and did not want to bother making a bigger issue of it, so I just forgot about it and moved on until about a year later when estate management picked up on 2 infringements by me. At this point Nicole had resigned and Stuart had replaced her. This is the email I get from Stuart. "Good day, I trust that you are well. Please could you remove the pots from the wall as per the attached photo? As this is dangerous should they be knocked off and fall onto someone downstairs, and it is in breach of the conduct rules. Furthermore, no items can be attached to the walls in the patio, and you are requested to remove the pictures as per the photo, as this is aesthetically displeasing. Your assistance is appreciated. Kind regards, Stuart. Estate Manager. After that email, I was now a bit upset and determined to get my way in terms of my smoking downstairs neighbor. Cue my malicious compliance. Good day, Stuart. I'm very well. Thanks for asking. Absolutely, I will take the pictures down. Not a problem. We wouldn't want someone's vision to be irreparably damaged from the unsightly trauma that is my vintage bike picture collection. Though I must comment that I appreciate the very polite way my decor is described as aesthetically displeasing, as opposed to what that actually means. Damn, that's ugly is probably a more colloquial translation. My feelings might have been hurt otherwise. I'm very relieved I didn't go into the profession of interior decorating, which a few people I know have said I should have done, since the sudden realization that my taste and style is not what I once thought it was. It could have been a disaster career-wise. Alternatively, what if I were to replace the photos of the bikes with a nice family portrait of my parents? Granted, they are not supermodels, but they are attractive to me. Though I may be biased in that opinion, since I care for them, so I am hoping they are not too ugly. Oops, I mean aesthetically displeasing. If that fails, maybe a reproduction of the Mona Lisa would be sufficient to meet your high standards. Tourists travel across the globe and wait in line for hours just to see it for a few minutes. Would that be allowed? I won't even charge fellow tenants for looking at it when they are walking past my balcony. Obviously, I'm being a little ridiculous, and I don't mean to give you a hard time. You're just doing your job and enforcing some of the ridiculous rules that management comes up with. Like the communist level restriction on personal expression and the freedom of choice to decorate and style our own property in a manner that we like. God forbid we show some individuality. Now that I think about that, the endless rows of identical looking Soviet-era housing structures do have a nice seizure-inducing repetitive nature about them. While we are on the subject of decor, how is it that plastic patio furniture is still allowed? Yes, it is patio furniture, which complex rules say are allowed on patios, but damn, that is painful to look at. You know what I mean, right? That cheap white plastic stuff one buys at the furniture section at those large bulk buying stores. I find it very aesthetically Oh, screw it. It is ugly. I don't like looking at it. It comes across as tacky. Can't they be scrapped as well? I'm going off topic again. The whole point of me bringing all of this up is that a few months ago I emailed asking about a complaint I had. The complaint was that the lady who lives directly downstairs from me regularly smokes in her garden. And me, being the lover of oxygen that I am, keep my windows and patio door open for fresh air. And her smoke is constantly wafting into my apartment. Me also being a non-smoker, I get quite annoyed. I asked if anything could be done about this. I was told, "It is her property and her patio. She can smoke on it if she wants to." I know that health legislation stipulates that smoking within a certain distance from a designated non-smoking area is illegal. If it is good enough for public spaces, shouldn't I have that same right in my own house? Granted, I don't have designated non-smoking area signs in my flat, but I'm the only one who lives there, so I already know there's no smoking allowed. I made the rule. It would be silly to put them up inside. Should I put them up outside on my patio instead so others can see? Maybe they don't know that I don't like cigarette smoke. Actually wait, I already know the answer to that. They are aesthetically displeasing. Forget I mentioned it. So to recap, what really gripes me is that when my neighbor smokes so close to my flat that I can practically smell what brand of cigarettes she smokes, I am told I cannot do anything about it even though it might affect my health because it is her property and she can do what she likes on it. By that logic, she could host orgies on her lawn and I couldn't do anything about so long as she kept the volume down after 10 PM. However, I cannot put up pictures on my patio because some people might not like the way they look, even though it is also my property and it would be nice if I could do with it as I wanted provided it was not an eyesore. Since I take a lot of pride in my flat, I wouldn't call it an eyesore as I maintain it quite well, or at least I think so. If only a person's lungs and health were as important as other people's inability to mind their own business. So what I really want to know is there any way that my neighbor could possibly just smoke inside her flat, or at least outside the front of her flat if she insists on smoking outside, where the smoke won't come into my place as easily? I would accept that too. I'm not a completely unreasonable guy. I find her smoke nasally displeasing. I normally wouldn't make such a big deal about it, but I'm starting to feel that what I am subjected to versus what others have to be subjected to is a bit unfair. Sorry to put all this on you, Stuart. I understand it's totally not your fault. I still take the pictures and the pot plants down immediately. Your assistance is appreciated. Kind regards, Alex, Unit 117. I sent that reply after 6 PM and I didn't expect him to respond until the next morning, but half an hour later I got a reply. My email must have made an impact. Hey Alex, thank you for your email. I thoroughly enjoyed reading it. I do understand your frustration and unfortunately, this is the reality of staying in such built-up complexes. I will address the issue of the smoking with your neighbor and I will revert to you. Thank you for your assistance and understanding. Kind regards, Stuart. To me that sounded positive, so Stuart deserved a pat on the back. I sent a short reply. Thanks Stuart, much appreciated. You're a top-notch guy. By now it was after 8 PM and I am sure someone with a 9-to-5 desk job like Stuart should have been at home and clocked out, but he was still replying to me. Hey Alex, I've confirmed that smoking is only allowed inside the unit or at least 5 meters from a public space such as your balcony. I will confirm the neighbor's unit number in the morning unless you can advise offhand and will address her on the smoking issue. Kind regards, Stuart. I was over the moon. I ran downstairs to see what her unit number was and ran back upstairs to reply. Stuart, you have gone from being a top-notch guy to being a legend. Thanks so much. Her unit is 107. I was worried the outcome wouldn't be great and would have to accidentally bump into my pots while taking my pictures down, while she was conveniently smoking in just the right position. It would be a tragic accident, of course. Sorry, some smoke got into my lungs. Though that would be a lot of effort since I've already taken the plans and pictures down and I would have to put them all up again to make the story sound believable to the police because they would no doubt interrogate me on suspected murder with a pot plant. And that is frankly too much effort. Luckily I don't have to resort to that. Thanks again Stuart, your hard work has kept me out of prison. It is late. You can email her in the morning. Go home and have a beer. You have earned it. P.S. In all seriousness though, I'm totally kidding about the pot plant thing, and if the lady downstairs were to pack it in the near future, it would be completely coincidental and nothing to do with me, and I would appreciate it if you forgot you ever spoke to me. This would be terrible evidence against me in court. I mean, I dislike smokers but I wouldn't kill them. I'm not that crazy. Regards, Alex. Sadly, that was the last time I would hear from Stuart. Our correspondence stopped after that. I felt we had developed a bond and it ended as quickly as it had begun. I only lived in that estate for another 2 years and had no more issues with the downstairs neighbor or her cigarette smoke. I now live in the suburbs in a lovely house with my wife and have no downstairs neighbors to complain about and no Stuarts to tell me what I can and cannot do. I will treasure our time together. I hope wherever he is, he has our email thread printed out and pinned on his office board above his desk and thinks of me fondly whenever he looks at it. And by the way guys, I know that some of my ripe stars are actually living right now in an HOA and some of you are actually happy in it. Usually here on my channel we only hear negative things about HOAs, however if you are living in one that treats you perfectly well, then please let us know what you like about your current HOA. That would really interest me. Thank you so much. And ripe stars, sadly we have reached the end of the video. However, if you cannot get enough of my content, then I would highly suggest you to check out my binge watch playlist, which you will see at the corner of the screen. If you click on that playlist, you will find hours of ripe content, and also by watching this playlist you will support my channel. This is due to the fact that YouTube likes when users stay on one person's channel and watch several videos in a row. In addition, you can also check out my Patreon at patreon.com/ripeyoutube for more exclusive Reddit videos. Prices start at $3 a month, but please don't feel pressured into giving me money or anything. It is already enough for you to watch my videos daily. Thank you so much for your amazing daily support, and I hope to see you again tomorrow.